today we are talking about allegations between the president, or rather among the president, former DP Gachagua, and former Attorney General J.B. Butere. But at the same time, it's very disheartening that actually people entrusted with the leadership of a country would actually be sitting in a room to discuss of how to share billions of shillings to settle scores or to satisfy certain personalities. Exactly, whose money is this, Jamila? Because how do you sit to share a cake that is not yours? I mean, it's taxpayers' money at a time that the country is struggling with the heavy weight of public debt, that you're spending 1 trillion shillings to pay interest. At the same time, we are struggling to even develop our country. We are struggling to pay salaries. Sometimes we are late to pay salaries for public servants. Today, we are late to send resources to counties. Yeah. How can we be doing that, but at the same time there's a conversation going on somewhere to sort out someone who needs between 2 billion and 10 billion shillings? Like, honestly, how do you sleep after taking such a conversation? How do you sleep after taking oath of office not long ago to defend the Constitution, to protect it, and to advance the ideals that are required of good governance and Article 10 of the Constitution? So for me, I think listening to all the leaders that have been speaking to us, I'm just wondering, are we listening? Are we taking note of what is happening? And what are we going to do about it? Early in the week, I was having a discussion here with members of parliament from different sides of the political divide, and some of them are saying that these allegations are so serious, they require investigation by parliament, because you remember that now DP Gachagua is out, Attorney General and former Attorney General and CS J.B. Butere is out, but the president is in office. If what J.B. Butere is saying and what Rigathi Gachagua is saying has an element of truth, I've seen some people saying that they should record statements with the DCI or go to, I don't know what office, to report that. But the DCI won't do nothing against a president. Yeah. This is an issue that if we are serious as a country that respects the institutions in the Constitution, it belongs to Parliament to investigate, because J.B. Butere, even if he wants, he cannot pursue that, because you cannot present a petition to investigate a president or to remove a president. That can only come from a member of parliament, because the provisions on the impeachment, it is only a member of parliament who can present a motion, and there are procedures on how it has to be backed by starting out a third, and for it to be approved you require 2/3 of the National Assembly. So I don't know what Parliament is going to do, but this is not something that Kenyans should actually ignore. It needs to be processed, and if indeed there's an element of truth to it, either we pursue the process through Parliament, or Kenyans take note, because they'll have a moment to make a decision in not so long.
And I think it's more of taking note. I think today we've seen a lot of actors outside that stage. And this is really disappointing in the sense of how this government communicates. First of all, the reactions from all over, where now you have about 2 cabinet secretaries, PS, 2
PSs.
Yeah, 2 PSs. They're all weighing in on, and then actually, when you look at all what they are saying,
script iko same.
No, tofauti actually. The script is all over the place. I think it's longer than Malala's. When you look at the denial of tear gas, you know, tear gas is a physical thing.
Inaonekana.
You can actually see it with your eyes. How do you deny that that happened? I think the peers didn't do well there by denying a fact, a physical fact, like the firing of tear gas. But what does this point to as well? That should be a concern to Kenyans. I think the decision-making process in the entire handling of this issue, if this play was this contentious, how did it get this far?
To the nationals.
How did it get to the national levels? Yeah, how did they not pick it that, you know, Malala the former UDS Secretary General, is doing some revenge work starting from the village. You know, you remember they start with the lowest level before you go to the county and
zonals.
The zonals, and then yes. How did they miss all that? If this was a problem, wasn't it tidy to actually do it at that stage? And then you look at the decisions around what was happening last night and this morning. You can still see, you can definitely tell that there are very many centers of command. We've just seen our colleagues in the Nation Media Group reporting that the police officers that were involved in the dispersing of the journalists yesterday and even today came from Nairobi
And Kiambu.
and Kiambu. They traveled from here purposely to do that. On whose orders are they acting? What happened to the local police service? And credit to the gentleman that we saw there, I think the DCIO of Nakuru, speaking to Malala, and his body language was very professional. He wasn't threatening. He was there telling Malala that he's not supposed to be here, and I think that was last evening when he was trying to get to the school where the girls were for.
In fact, in the intro, I said what are Wajui jokes because it's a school play.
Yep.
We've done
Drama.
drama festivals. I don't know. I think 60-something drama
63rd.
festival. I think some of us were in the drama club in high school, and I remember the highlight for us was going to State House in Nakuru to perform for the president, and the rehearsals that go on the whole term, because the first term is the drama festivals, and then the second term is the music festivals, and it's a matter of pride to be able to represent your school, go through the regionals. I remember it was those zonals, and then those regionals, and then your province back then, and then now the nationals, and getting there, and at Pushinda nationals, Fikaing nationals was a really big deal. It was a huge achievement. So I can imagine how those young girls were feeling, and I want us to listen to them, what the young girls from Butere were saying after they were unable to perform their play.
Harassed by the police. Yes, they used us to stay with nothing. Nothing. Tumekuja shule. We have not rehearsed. We don't have our directors. We don't even have props. Wanasema tuende stage to perform. What are we performing? How? Is it even fair to the students?
And their cry was, how do we perform bila director? And I know how important the director was. You know, when you see your director there is a sense of confidence that you get being on stage, and your director is there to support you. Let's listen to the director himself, Cleopas Malala, speaking last night when he was denied entrance to the school where the girls were.
Mchezo huu ni mchezo wa kawaida. Tunaonyesha the plight of the young generation in Kenya. Tunaona kwamba young generation kuna matako ambayo wanataka ifanyike Kenya. Wanataka good governance, hawataki mambo ya corruption, wanataka healthcare mzuri, na wanapigana na wale elderly generation. Wanasema kwamba hawataki kwamba haki zao zinyanyaswe kila wakati. Wanapigana na the leaders, wanapigana na religious leaders, wanapigana na wazazi wao.
On my kicker tonight, I'm thinking of adulthood in the context of the heady events that happen in Kenya today. This day, the country came to a near standstill because of a play, a school stage play. And that could really have been understandable were it not for the fact that the standoff also involved some children, averaging the age of 15. And I thought of adulthood because I was surprised by the number of grown-ups that turned up ostensibly to save our young minds from Butere, from utter destruction by irresponsible others. But in the mix of the adult noises that dominated the atmosphere today, one of them sounded reflective and, fortunately, conscious of the bigger picture. Here is Interior Principal Secretary Dr. Raymond Omolo.
There is a culture that is currently creeping across the country, where there is lack of order across every sphere of life, whether it's in schools, whether it's in offices, whether it's in leadership. And I want to look up to this association and its membership to help us bring some semblance of order in how we manage our affairs.
Now, in his address at the annual general meeting of the Association of the National Government Administrators of Kenya, P.S. Omolo lamented what he termed a culture of disorder and challenged the administrators to look inward and reflect. He told the administrators, and I quote, "The communities we serve look up to us for guidance, stability, and inspiration." End of quote. The question is, do communities still look up to the administrators? Do they still guide? Do they still inspire? And are they really agents of stability? All these are critical points for reflection among Kenyan adults, both inside and outside government. Days like today and small things like a school play have tested our adulthood. Each element that goes with adulthood, that is age, maturity, and responsibility, were tested and found wanting, not just by the 44 minutes play, but by that short 2 minutes presentation that included the singing of the national anthem by the 15-year-old girls from Butere. And as we encourage P.S. Omolo to lead administrators in that very necessary reflection, it must begin with the increasingly erratic and wobbly National Police Service. It has been pitiful watching some of the actions of our policemen. In the Nakuru drama of our play, the police stood out for their own drama of mindless use of force that included the targeting of children and journalists. And the reflections should trace backwards to the increasingly, equally erratic decision-making that end up painting administrators as unguided and uninspiring.
We have a responsibility to start in-house with us. You don't want a situation where you have members that people even wonder, was this an administrator? Or is this even an administrator? So I would really want to challenge all of you that as we have our conversations today as part of the rest of the program, let's take stock and take a step back and ask ourselves, how do we want this cadre of senior government officers, how do we want administrators to be viewed by the rest of our colleagues in government, by the rest of everybody in this country?
Now, away from the administrators and back to my theme of the night, adulthood. For the many adults, especially politicians, that came out today to lecture some 15-year-old girls, have you ever heard of something called the power of example?
Mimi kama Rigathi Gachagua, mtoto wa Mama Chuma zamani, sijafurahia hata kidogo kitendo ambacho amemfanyia Peter Salasya.
Monkey see, monkey do. That is my kicker.
For 15 years now, Kenya has been governed under the Constitution of Kenya 2010, a document often invoked to win political and legal arguments. Ironically, it's also one of the most abused tools by those in power. Time and again, courts have found authorities and institutions guilty of violating it, issuing countless rulings that highlight systemic unconstitutionality. But there is one chapter in that constitution that back in 2010 was hailed as the nation's moral compass. Chapter 6, the chapter on leadership and integrity. For many state officers who double as political leaders, this chapter has become more of an inconvenience than a guide. Just 800 words written in plain English spell out the standard of conduct expected from those in public office. Article 73 of the Constitution declares that the authority of state officers is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that demonstrates respect to the people, that brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office. You'd think that someone bearing the title honorable would carry themselves accordingly with dignity and honor. But then they film distasteful videos, review them, and decide to post them online, chasing likes, reposts, and viral fame. And when criticism comes, they respond not with grace, but with an outburst of insults. Article 73(2) lays out the principles that should guide leadership and integrity. Leaders, it says, must act with objectivity and impartiality. Their decisions should never be driven by nepotism, favoritism, corrupt practices, or any other improper motives. But then we hear of allegations that government programs, especially those flaunted on campaign trails, are just money-making schemes, disguised as service to the people, that they are in truth self-serving deals. According to the Constitution, leadership ought to be selfless service based solely on the public interest, which is demonstrated by honesty in the execution of public duties, and more importantly, the declaration of any personal interest that may conflict with public duties. Until you hear many political leaders celebrating to be, quote, in government, simply because it gives them access to government deals, tenders, and influence. Remember how the COVID-19 pandemic suddenly turned political leaders and those politically connected into PPE suppliers, rushing to cash in on a crisis that was costing lives? Billions were made, but at what human cost? When leaders take their oath of office and swear to obey, respect, uphold, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of Kenya, do they also read that, quote, accountability to the public for decisions and actions taken is one of the guiding principles of leadership and integrity? And if they do read that line, what do they actually understand from it? In the past 2 weeks alone, the nation has been bombarded with a flood of revelations, allegations, and accusations involving some of the highest offices in the land. And it's hard to believe those voices are simply madmen shouting in the wind. If those allegations are true, even just a small fraction, what would the leaders do if Chapter 6 of the Constitution were read to them? What should they do? What's the point of having an entire constitutional chapter on leadership and integrity when those it's meant to guide spend their nights scheming, brokering shady deals, and plotting how to get richer, more powerful, and harder to remove? What's the sense of a moral compass if it's only used as a prop? That's my sense tonight.
A move meant to address what he calls the country's perennially low savings rate. But when news of the minister's statement hit social media, the reactions were swift and ranged from disbelief to outright ridicule. Many Kenyans found the idea not only absurd, but painfully out of touch with the economic realities facing millions of citizens. And rightly so. For years now, Kenyans have been struggling under the weight of multiple deductions, rising taxes, and an ever-growing cost of living. The suggestion that people can be forced to save by law feels not only impractical but insensitive too. As one Kenyan put it, ulazimishwe kulipa tax, housing levy, pension bili, SHIF na SHA, alafu akulazimishe kusave. Total ikuje 20k na una earn 15k. Kenya inaenda wapi? This latest announcement has exposed what many believe to be a consistent pattern by government: a lack of imagination. Every challenge is met with legislation. Every solution is a law. But as many have pointed out, you already have a legal framework for savings, the NSSF. So what will this new law do that NSSF doesn't? And what happens if you break this new savings law? Jail time for not having money? As one Kenyan sarcastically laid out the government's typical playbook: number 1, introduce saving deductions. Number 2, have it declared unconstitutional by the High Court for lack of public participation. Number 3, appeal. Number 4, obtain stay of execution and 14 days to rectify. Number 5, rectify, deduct, steal, and leave. Wow. Another asked a question many are now echoing: have countries with high personal savings rates passed laws to enforce it, or have they created environments that support and encourage saving? This is the crux of the matter. You cannot legislate a culture of savings into existence. You can only nurture it by empowering citizens. That means reducing taxes on essential goods. It means ensuring affordable healthcare and education. It means eliminating corruption so that public funds actually serve the people. Look at what happened with SHA, the Affordable Housing Levy. Both entered the scene as saving schemes and are now taxes by law. Many fear this proposed law will follow the same path. As one ex-user wrote, each day they brainstorm new ideas on how to burden Kenyans. This constant targeting of pay slips is exhausting the working class. Already people are contributing to NSSF. Some have deductions from SACCO loans, bank repayments, health insurance, school fees, and now more mandatory savings. Let's not forget, the issue isn't that Kenyans don't want to save. They do. They save through chamas and SACCOs and banks and M-Pesa and even table banking. The issue is that their trust is constantly betrayed. As one person pointed out, most of our labor laws aren't even operational. Most people don't even know what gratuity is in Kenya or how it's supposed to work. So before introducing another policy wrapped in legalese, the government must first answer this: where is the money from NSSF, Hustler Fund, SHA, and Housing Levy going? Who is accounting for it? Kenyans are not resisting saving. They're resisting theft disguised as saving. They're resisting being punished for systemic failures. They're resisting a government that refuses to do the hard work of building an economy that actually works, choosing instead to legislate its way out of every crisis. If the government truly wants to improve the savings culture in Kenya, the solution is simple: fix the economy, lower the cost of living, ensure job security, pay people fairly, enforce existing labor protections, and above all, stop stealing public funds. Want Kenyans to save? Then show them that their money is safe. Show them that their sacrifice will result in benefit and not loss. And until then, please stop trying to squeeze water from a stone. And that is my memo tonight.